when I speak to my friends who happen to be lawyers, it's always a difficult conversation. And the reason for that is that they assume the Constitution is some God-given thing. They don't think it's a man-made set of rules that we live by. And the moment, one of us proposes an alternate system of government or an alternate system of the way in which we elect representatives, or, what I suggest in my book is to entirely do away with representatives, they immediately cite the Constitution and sort of rule it out, right? So I know I'm putting you in a difficult position of defending your profession, but like, what is when we as a society have philosophical disagreements on how we manage our society, what is the Constitution? Where does it come in?
Well, while the Constitution of India is a legal document which is entitled for greatest degree of respect, the minute we start looking at these things as something as God-given, then we'll end up in trouble. But there are two ways of looking at it. Every politician, without meaning any disrespect to politicians around, this is a debate going on for the last 75 years, starting from day one, whether the Constitution could be amended by the Parliament or not. And I'm sure most of you coming from the field of journalism know the history. The battle went on and on and on. And finally, in 1973, the Supreme Court said, Constitution could be amended by the Parliament, subject to the limitation that the basic structure of the Constitution could not be amended. Now, what is that basic structure is another problem. It's like the traditional Brahmapadartha of Indian philosophy. It's difficult to explain. Anyway, I'll not trouble you with those things now. Point is, there are aspects which perhaps require a second look from time to time in any constitution. What was good 100 years back maybe or may not be good today. It requires an intense and intelligent debate. It's not the question of shouting and numbers which decide these things. Because Constitution is a relatively, the fact remains, those who framed the Constitution were men of great wisdom, and men or women, sorry ma'am, just a habit. In law, man always included woman, therefore we tend to say that. The Indian Penal Code defines man includes woman. So, there were people of not only wisdom and experience, their commitment to the nation was something extraordinary. You remember, quite a good number of them suffered prolonged periods of incarceration during the British period, which the later generation leaders did not. Not necessarily that everybody should go to jail. Of late, we find a lot of people going to jail for different reasons. That's a different matter. I'm not on that. But there were people with sacrifice behind them, according to their own understanding of the needs of the people in this country, their own understanding of the development of historical forces all over the world, particularly the democratic countries. This constitution was framed. Nonetheless, in my view, there are a few areas which still perhaps require a reconsideration. This is not the right place to discuss those things, but I only make a statement. Yes, there are. Now, in the process, how we work this constitution is the question. If I can digress for a minute, of course, I heard Mr. Tharoor, Mr. Rajeev. I'm not saying, yes, one person, one vote. Yes, that's an inviolable principle of democracy. There can't be a second opinion. But what follows from that is the question. The question is how this political power of having more numbers in the lawmaking bodies is utilized in the context of other areas, like the distribution of finances and other things. Because I am not an economist, though I broadly understand these things. I'll give you an example which I know how it works, these numbers work. I don't know how many of you are aware of this. In this country, there are 2 high courts where the use of Hindi as a language of communication is permissible. By law, it is permissible. UP and Rajasthan, I think Madhya Pradesh also subsequently joined. And it's an interesting development, you must know. This happened, nothing to do with any political parties, it happened. In 1950s, for the first time, the UP Legislative Assembly passed resolution saying that the Government of India should take appropriate steps to notify Hindi to be a language which could be used in the High Court. Lower courts, yes, but High Courts it was not used till then. I am not on the question of whether inherently it is right, Hindi is better, I am not at all on that. The question is, such a resolution was passed. When such a resolution was passed, the Government of India, though there is nothing in the Constitution which really demands this exercise, as a constitutional convention, perhaps they thought it fit, since it's a matter concerning the judiciary. Pandit Nehru's government sought the opinion of the Chief Justice of India, the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court at that point of time said it's not a very desirable thing. I am not going into the correctness or otherwise of that understanding. This is what happened, I'm only telling you the facts. The Supreme Court said, no, this is not desirable. Maybe at that point of time, they thought it so. Notwithstanding such conclusion of the Supreme Court, which was communicated to the Government of India, the Government of India went ahead, notified Hindi to be permissible language in which the judicial work could be conducted in Uttar Pradesh, Allahabad High Court. This was later followed, if I remember right, if my memory is not failing, later followed in Rajasthan or Madhya Pradesh, one of those 2 states which followed first, I don't remember now. A similar request came. Once again, a request was made to the Supreme Court asking its opinion. I still remember because I had an occasion to look into the old files while I was sitting in the Supreme Court. The then Chief Justice of India wrote a note, what is the point in seeking this opinion? We gave an opinion earlier, you didn't accept it. Why? Anyway, you have the power to do it. Why are you asking our opinion? That's what the Chief Justice of India wrote back to the Government of India then, 1960s. Well, the government notified, no quarrel. Here comes the most interesting thing. While I was in the Supreme Court, 2 states, ma'am, your state, Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu State Legislative Assembly and the other state is, mind you, Gujarat State Assembly passed similar resolutions saying that their respective local language be permitted to be used as a language, court language. The drill is conducted once again. The opinion of the Supreme Court was sought. Since I was a sitting judge those days, naturally it was circulated to all the judges. Well, may not sound presumptuous, but I knew what was going to happen. And most of the time these things are not recorded. If some of you remember my basic problem when I said I'll not participate in the collegium meeting, please put it on writing, record. Let the country know, let the future know what is happening in this. I knew nothing would be recorded, a decision would, simple one-line decision would be taken. I wrote a long letter to the Chief Justice the previous night before the meeting, saying that I did not see any reason to reject this after the Government of India had permitted 2 states to use a particular language in the High Courts. There is no reason why the other states should be denied this opportunity. I put it in writing. Next morning, the full court assembled. And my dear friends, once again, of course, Supreme Court was consistent right from the beginning. Whether anybody heard them or not is a different matter. He said, since earlier we recommended not to use it, we still reject it, including the honorable judges, my own brethren, coming from those 2 respective states who voted. I was not concerned with either of the states in that sense. It's not the language, my mother tongue. I was the only one who fought for it. The point is this. Why does it happen? It happened in the case of other two states, the Hindi-speaking states. I have, before I say this, because there is a possibility of somebody dubbing me. Of course, I have taken a lot of this flack in my life. I'll just narrate a small incident and then proceed with the matter. Once I was invited as a judge of the Supreme Court to the Banaras Hindu University. There's a law college there. I was invited there for some occasion. Then the gathering of students, teachers, senior advocates, some of the sitting and former judges of the Allahabad High Court, a lot of the good gathering was there. Speaker after speaker made a statement that Supreme Court should permit Hindi as an official language, both for the purpose of filing documents as well as addressing the court. Speaker after speaker said it. And of course, since I was a sitting judge of the Supreme Court, everybody said, Judge Saab, you must take the initiative and do this. So it came to my turn. I had to answer. As I told you, these are all very dangerous emotional areas. One word, uncalculated word, creates a lot of trouble for the speaker. So I said, I come from a state, Andhra Pradesh, where Hindi is not very prevalent. I have seen 100 Hindi movies. Of course, I stopped seeing movies some 20, 25 years back after I became a lawyer for various reasons. But as a student, I used to watch a lot of movies. I saw 100 Hindi movies, at least, if not more.
You didn't see her movies?
Hindi, I don't know. Did you act in Hindi? I saw one Telugu. I didn't. I saw one Telugu movie of yours. Okay. Now, then I said this. It was a gathering like this, maybe 300-400 people. I'll be very happy to know if there is any person in this gathering who has seen at least one South Indian movie. Just one South Indian movie, any language. Not you, madam. I asked there. In Banaras, in the university. Nobody, there was not even a single person who saw a South Indian. I'm not saying that they should see South Indian movies. The point is, I have no antipathy to any language. I would love to learn. In fact, I'm a Telugu by birth. I studied in Tamil Nadu. I can manage Tamil. I can manage a conversation. I may not be able to deliver a speech. I can manage a conversation. I have nothing, antipathy to any language. Learning more languages is a wonderful thing. But point is, politically, how this works out is the question. For that, I gave that other example. Because that day, the governments knew that Hindi-speaking people constitute a majority in the parliament. Therefore, rejecting their demand would be troublesome in the next election. Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, of course, for different reasons, for the last 10 years, it has gained greater prominence. This is a different matter. But numbers-wise, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu are not such troublesome things. Therefore, they can be postponed for some time. This is how the system works. I'm not talking about individuals or anything like that. Therefore, these things have implications. Now, if elections are to be held on adult franchise, necessarily the principle laid down in the Constitution is the ratio must be more or less the same for all the states. Fair enough. The state itself is a wonderful thing. The states are not eternal in this country. The existence or destruction of a state can happen by a law of the parliament. What kind of federal system it is, it requires a larger debate. I'm not going into all those things now. Therefore, it's a matter to be debated seriously. Most importantly, in the matter of allocation of funds, devolution of funds from the government of India, as it was being pointed out. How much do we contribute? Yes, we know, if we believe that we are Indians, if some of our brethren in some other part of the country are not faring so well, something is required to be done, but should it be such a pattern that somebody gets a premium for their non-performance is a question which, how to solve it. That's a matter which is required to be debated. Thank you.